your excuses are bullshit. As humans, it's very hard to look ourselves in the face and be like, I'm the problem. My name's Katy Margison, and I am the owner of Athena Nutrition, shameless plug on the sweatshirt here. This is a nutrition coaching company that I started in November of 2024, and I do nutrition and fitness coaching one-on-one virtually to anyone, anywhere in the world who wants to work with me long-term on weight loss, lifestyle habits, lifestyle transformation, you name it, I'm your girl. I primarily work with women who are age 30 to 60, 65, and I absolutely love what I do and cannot believe that that is what I get to do every day. Yeah, so I'm actually gonna look at my phone because there was a text message that I sent, and actually I'm gonna go to my TikTok quick. I'm gonna turn the audio off just because it's a highlighted TikTok. So I did this TikTok like a year and a half ago, and it's a progression of basically text messages, screenshots of, like, at first it starts off like funny, like, oh, we did too many drugs last night, like, haha, we partied too hard. And then the very last one is, it's gonna be kind of hard to see, but you can see here, like, I'm kind of just like rambling off. It says, I don't know, I wanna scream, cry, be dead. I'm so fed up with everything. I hate my fucking existence sometimes. I'm such a piece of shit. All I do is think about drinking and drugs to escape my mind. That's not me. And that was on December 15th of 2023. And I had been partying pretty hard the most of 2023. And I realized I'd had enough. Like, I can't keep doing this. I have this corporate job that, like, no one knows I'm doing this every weekend and now during the week, and it's getting pretty bad. And I'm supposed to be a competitive Olympic weightlifter. I pulled out of New York State Championships that year with a bad back, aka a drug problem. And I was like, I have to stop. Like, something's got to change. And usually I'm the kind of person that if I make a decision, it's right then and there, no going back. But this was a little different. I was like, on January 1st of 2024, I'm gonna make a New Year's resolution. Meanwhile, I've never made a New Year's resolution in my life. I thought they were stupid. But I was like, I'm gonna party for like 2 more weeks. And just that, then January 1st, like, that's the day I'm gonna get sober. I'm gonna stop drinking, I'm gonna stop doing drugs, and we'll see how it goes. I didn't think in terms of forever because that felt too overwhelming. And I continued to just do my bullshit for another 2 weeks, which I'm sure we'll talk more about what that bullshit is. But December 15th was the day I was like, I can't keep doing this. I wouldn't even say waking up. When you do cocaine, you don't go to sleep. So I can't keep, like, partying until the sun comes up and hearing the birds chirp and, like, having all of this anxiety of, like, I have a meeting at 8 a.m. It's virtual and I'm going to be camera off, but I still have to go to this meeting. And I'm like, what am I doing with my life? So my last line of coke was January 1st at about 5 o'clock in the morning. At a friend's house, and then we took the Uber back here, and that was that. I haven't touched it since. I haven't had a drink since, and now I've been sober for a little over 800 days, which is crazy. But, you know, I've had a lot of, like, dates like that, but that one is probably the most significant because it wasn't my first attempt at sobriety, but this was my last, and it's been successful so far. I think back now and I'm like, I'm not sure. I'm very good at, like, keeping up appearances. People close to me obviously kind of knew, but the masses did not. Now, I've always been a drinker, and everyone knew me as, like, oh, Katy's gonna have wine. Like, Katy's gonna be the person at the party I was always the person that was like, come on, drink, have a drink, have a drink. And now those people drive me nuts. So I'm a bit of a hypocrite, and I try to really keep myself in check on that. Like, I used to do that, so I can't be mad at other people because I used to do that same shit. And so, like, drinking, I got very good at consuming more and more and being able to tolerate that over time. The first time I tried to get sober in 2018, it lasted about 3.5 months, and I thought I can moderate. Famous last words. And I did for a while, but then COVID happened and I was living by myself at the time. I wasn't married to my husband, and we didn't even know each other. And I had a basement apartment, and I was like, well, my job's going really well. I was working in telehealth and virtual care, which became very necessary during COVID. So my job was like, thank God I had the job that I did. And I actually turned that into another business, which I have, which maybe we'll talk about. But I just started drinking at like 2-3 o'clock because nobody's gonna stop me. I'm not an essential worker, but I'm essential enough I can work at home and get away with it. And it just kind of built from there. And then cocaine kind of started to come into foray, and I was always someone who said I will never do hard drugs because my mother was a drug addict and she has been clean and sober. She's got to be coming up on 40 years. So like, all the props to her. She's my inspiration, right? But anytime I started to touch cocaine, I always felt like the biggest piece of shit because I'm like, I've heard all my mom's stories, like it's really been ingrained in my head my whole life, like don't do this. It's a very slippery slope. And here I am. And for a long time, it was like every 2 or 3 months at a random party, like it would come out and be like, yeah, sure. Like I can handle that. And then like late 2022 into early 2023, it just started to pick up gradually a bit more. The people that we were hanging out with who, I'm not really friends with them anymore, unfortunately. That could be part of the story too, and all the growing pains of sobriety, but it started to just happen more and more frequently. Like, okay, every Saturday, every other Saturday. Then it became every Saturday. And then it became every Friday, Saturday. And then it was like Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. And you get the picture. And part of me like having that come to Jesus moment in December of 2023, I really said to myself, if I keep doing this another 6 months, I might not be alive. Or I might lose my job, or I might hurt somebody, because at that point I was really starting to not give a fuck, and I would drive drunk. Like the fact that I never got caught, somebody's looking out for me. I was becoming really irresponsible, and I maybe people around me kind of knew, but I felt like I hid it well because I was still showing up for my job. I worked from home, so I was able to get away with a lot that way. I could jiggle the mouse here and there at 8 a.m. if I was dying, or be off camera for a meeting and no one would be any wiser. So I was very clever about it. If there was a day where I didn't have a lot of meetings or no meetings, that was like a green light, like, okay, we can party because I don't really have to like do a lot the next day. If I had a day full of meetings and I had to go into the office, I wouldn't do it. I would just drink. But there were Fridays I would snort coke at noon and like crank out a ton of work because I was behind. Like, I'm just like, how did I do that? But with the Olympic weightlifting, I was doing that 5 days a week, and then it became 4. And then I look back through my like training logs, and in late 2023, you can see where like I trained on a Friday and then there isn't another entry until the following Wednesday, because that was just out. I was cooked. And I pulled out of states that year, citing that my back was really hurting, and it was, but I could have trained through that. I was just partying too much and my training was suffering, and I didn't want to admit that to my coach or admit that to anybody, so I just lied about it. I think people realized what was going on, but I lied about it. And I have proof from people who've told me this many times. I'm very intense. And if you look at any of my content or my videos, I'm very much like in your face. That's by design. I'm very passionate about what I do. I'm very passionate about helping people. I'm very passionate about helping people realize that they don't have to stay stuck in the reality that they're in, stuck in their own bullshit. I talk about that a lot. And if someone like really takes the time to get to know me or is around me a lot, they'll realize that I'm actually not that intense person that comes across maybe the first time you meet me or on social media. I'm actually very empathetic, understanding, kind, loving. So that is a bit of a persona, and a lot of people who don't know me think like, wow, she's kind of a bitch. Like, but it's all by design, right? It's so that you actually pay attention to my content, but there is an element of, I genuinely care. I think that if I can pull myself out of the darkness that I was in, where I had suicidal ideations on a very regular basis and stopped testing my drugs because I was like, fuck it, like, if it's my time, it's my time, or driving drunk because I didn't care about anybody else, I only cared about myself. If I can do all of that, and then go on a weight loss journey afterwards and turn my life around and, pour back into the world by trying to help others do that, then you can too. You absolutely can too. One of my all-time favorite creators right now, her name's, I think it's Beth Ferrasso, and look her up, she's 53, and she's very much like, I don't give a fuck what, like, it's so funny, and I aspire to be her, but I also really love, like, what I love about myself and my content is, like, I'm very authentic. It's not scripted, it's very, like, from the heart, like, get out of your own way, you can do it. You can do it, you're just making excuses. Because I made excuses. For years, I knew I had a drinking problem, I knew I had a drug problem, and I wasn't willing to stare myself in the face. I wasn't willing to sit in the discomfort of my emotions, of my life, of the stress I was under. I wasn't willing to just deal with it. I was like, I need to numb it. I don't want to feel anything. And now that I have been sober as long as I have and gone through hell and back with that, sitting in that discomfort is a fucking superpower. And I will stand on my soapbox about that. Like, I can do that and a lot of people can't, but I can work with you one-on-one and show you how. And you don't even have to work with me, just watch my content, you'll learn a lot. But sitting in the discomfort and not numbing it out, whether it's with food, which is something I talk a lot about with my clients, addictions run in parallels. Like food addiction, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, work addiction, sex addiction, they all run in parallels. And I would argue to say, food addiction is tougher because I can cut out alcohol and drugs and still live. You can't do that with food. It's a lot more nuanced. So that's where I think my lived experience draws clients to me sometimes, because they're like, okay, you've been able to turn your life around. I want to work with you because you know something that I don't. I tell people all the time, I lost 25 pounds about 2 years ago, right, shortly after I got sober, because I turned to food and realized very quickly, okay, your addiction transferring here a little bit. It really came down to just some simple habits. I started walking more because I was sitting at a desk all day, and I put myself in a calorie deficit, because at the time, even when I was an addict, I had a nutrition certification. I had taught on a CrossFit floor for 6.5 years. I was a USA weightlifting coach. Like, I knew all the things I was supposed to be doing. I just wasn't doing any of it. And I moved my body more, I ate less food, and I tracked my macros because I knew that worked for me and I liked the structure. And I started drinking more water and prioritizing my sleep. And then I just let the time pass. I didn't set out with like, I need to be 130 pounds. Like, no, I was like, I just need to show up differently for myself because I'm not. And then I lost more weight than I ever imagined. And I documented the journey as it was going on. And one of my former members that I used to coach at Lake George Community Fitness, he had reached out to me when I was in the depths of my addiction. He was like, hey, I could use some help with like nutrition. Like, do you do that? And I was like, I'm not doing too well with that myself right now. Like, I didn't say what was really going on, but I was like, I wouldn't feel right like helping someone. Fast forward 9 months, I don't remember if I reached out to him or he reached out to me again, but we ended up connecting. And I was like, would you be willing to like be like a test client for me? And he was like, yeah. So him and his then wife had signed on for free. And I had no contracts. Like, I was like, just come over to my house and we'll like map out some stuff together. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was getting another nutrition certification. So I was like, while I'm finishing up this certification, let me take on like 2 or 3 people for free and just see if this is something I want to do. And that's where Athena Nutrition ended up being born. And I started it, and then I started charging, and now I have like a legitimate business, and it's really cool. I feel like all of the loudest silence moments could be split into Katy who's addicted and Katy who was sober. I will say that I can vividly remember it was July of 2023. We had been partying all night, and I remember going to lay down in bed at around 7 a.m. thinking like, all right, it's time to go to sleep. And I couldn't. And just like laying there, like heart palpitations, hearing the birds chirping, like there were sounds like around me, but I could hear those sounds, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? This is terrible. And I had a lot of moments like that. But that one in particular, I remember like the light coming in through the blackout curtains, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst feeling you can possibly have, the come down. And then in sobriety, I would say the loudest silence, probably March of 2024. I was right at February or March. There were a couple moments during that time that it was pretty bad. And I remember at the time, and I don't know if he even knows that the thing that he said to me had a profound impact, but my coach, my weightlifting coach, Chad, had said to me, he was totally joking, right? But this was the persona that people thought of me. I had been 2 months sober. I wasn't really telling anybody that I was sober. I really wanted to just keep it on the DL. And I was competing in a national meet. So we were traveling to the Arnold in Columbus, Ohio. And he had said something, I don't remember if it was in training, but he had said to me like, oh, I bet Katy's gonna be like glass of red wine as soon as she gets off the platform. And I remember sitting there after he said that, like sitting on the bench, I think during training, like, holy crap, that's what people think of me. And he's a good friend of mine, and he meant well. Like, I was never upset that he said that, but when he said that, it was like a switch flipped. I'm like, I can't go back, because that's what people think of me. I don't want to be remembered by that. I don't want to be remembered as the party girl or the girl who's drinking at 10 a.m. after she finishes competing. Like, first of all, those two things are very at odds with each other. Like, drinking and competing at a national level doesn't really work. But yeah, those were some pretty profound moments. And even with the one in July of 2023 where I was deep in my addiction, it still took me another 5-6 months to really realize that this can't go on. Yeah, food was definitely a comfort in early sobriety, and that's where I ended up getting to the point a few months later where I was like, I've never been this weight. I'm so uncomfortable. I'm hiding in baggy clothes all the time, like just unhappy. And I mean, still to this day, have an addictive personality. I don't know if that ever really leaves you. I would say now I transfer that addiction to work. If you were to ask my husband, he would agree wholeheartedly. And that serves me and hinders me in the same breath. Like, it serves me well because I've built a 6-figure nutrition coaching business in a matter of a little over a year, which is incredible. And at the same time, that comes at a cost. To have 50 clients now, those are 50 lives that I feel very much responsible for their vulnerabilities that they share with me, their weight loss journey, their hormone balancing journey, whatever the journey is, it's very personal and it's very vulnerable for each and every one of them. And I have to do a lot of work to try and keep that in a compartment in my office and not carry it into the rest of my life, because I'm hearing a lot of heavy stuff day to day, personal things, and I have to try and separate that. And at the same time, not work 70 hours a week, every week. And there are weeks that call for that. But I am trying right now to really find balance so that my own health doesn't get compromised, so that I lead by example as best I can, because that's really important to me. Leading by example is everything. Like, anything I ask my clients to do, I'm doing or have done. I recently got diagnosed with early stage Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid condition. Not that big of a deal, but that was a big wake-up call for me. Like, okay, your immune system, your HPA axis, your thyroid, it's all a little dysregulated, and chronic stress is part of it, and I've got to get a better handle on that. So it's a work in progress. It's hard. Like, I care so much about my business that, you know, I would pretty much work every day, 10, 12 hours a day if you let me. And I have to like separate that. Going to the gym, going to Lake George Community Fitness and taking a cross training class is my outlet, 100% my outlet. I channel a lot of my emotions, good or bad, into the barbell, and that serves me really well because I do well with it. Other than that, I keep saying, like, I wish there was something that made me feel the way that alcohol used to make me feel that wasn't a substance. It doesn't exist as far as I'm aware, other than, you know, connection to others, or, you know, meditation or yoga or any of those things. And I don't do a great job of balance right now. I'm a new business owner, so balance doesn't really exist well in my life, and that's something I've really got to work on, because I preach balance to my clients all the time and I want to lead by example. So I don't have a good answer for that. I'm working on it. I try to go to hot yoga like twice a month, which is horrible. I should go a lot more than that. I'm not doing well with the balance thing right now. Like, if I could be outside all the time, I would. Granted, it's above 50 degrees because I don't like this winter shit. It's a beautiful place, right? Like, we live on a dead end road. We have an acre of property for our dogs. Like, I'm very, very blessed. Absolutely. But I just wish winter wasn't like 5 months of the year. Oh, proud of. Okay, I was immediately like, what I'm not proud of. I would say, I'm going to go like way, way back. So like I just said, I grew up in California, Southern California. And the reason I ended up in New York is a story that not many people know. And when I even like tell people who've known me for years, like, oh yeah, I'm actually not from New York, they're like, wait, what? I thought you lived here your whole life. No. And you know, if my parents are going to watch this, and like, I'm not trying to tell their story for them, this is just my reality. Mom and Dad, I love you. But as I remember it, like, we moved here when I was 11, and I vividly remember my parents like sitting at the dining room table, and my dad, I think he was crying as they were cutting up credit cards. And my mom mentioned the term bankruptcy, and I didn't know what that meant at the time. My dad was an offshore oil driller, Vietnam veteran, and he made enough of a living that my mom didn't have to work. She was a stay-at-home mom. We had a pretty, you know, decent upbringing in Southern California, and then all of a sudden we were like having a yard sale and selling everything we owned. I had to get rid of everything, and we put it all into a car, and basically we're homeless. And my mom's family is from upstate New York. That's where my grandfather lives. He's in Olmstedville, which is about 45 minutes north of where we are in Queensbury. And we drove across the country over a 7 or 8 day time span, kind of just like hoping somebody will take us in, because we had lost everything. And I didn't understand it at the time, but as I got older, I realized through like a lot of therapy that was such a profound moment for me, because I think that's why my work ethic and my drive is as much as it is. I never want to be, as an adult, where my parents were. Like, no home, 2 kids, they're piling them into the car. Like, my legs were up like this because like my suitcase was underneath it. It was everything we could fit into a 1994 Taurus. And fun fact, the license plate for said Taurus is back there. I'll never get rid of it. And I just remember thinking like, I never want to be in that position. And I don't blame them. You know, if anything, I think it set me up for a lifetime of success with my career that I've had, but I've worked my ass off for it. I've never not had 2 or 3 jobs. I bartended my way through college and, you know, had side hustles and like all the things just to keep myself afloat because I was terrified that that was going to happen to me. So that is a scar that I think I've turned into a positive. You could also balance that and say like my mindset around money is a little scarce. Like I want to hold on to it because I'm afraid the shoe's going to drop, and it's like, you're actually fine now. You can like calm down. But it was a very formidable time of my life, even though I didn't realize it. I don't think I could live with myself if I relapsed. Like that would be the very thing that like, I'm not going to like, this is not me suicidal, but the intense like shame and regret, I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel that. And I will tell you, like, when it comes to alcohol, I don't think about it at all anymore. Cocaine, I think about it every single day of my life. Good, bad, or indifferent, like that I don't know where the quote comes from, cocaine's a hell of a drug. It is. I never felt like more free or extroverted. Like, I'm not an extrovert at all. That was something I learned in sobriety. I actually really am not extroverted. I was just drunk all the time. But yeah, I don't think I could live with myself. It's first like letting myself down, but also I've built a kind of a brand around sobriety. Like now people know me as like, oh, she's sober, Katy's sober. I can't go back on that. Like, if there ever is a time, you know, 20 years from now where I'm like, maybe I'll try moderation, I don't know. I take it one day at a time. And that is so important in sobriety. Everybody's journey is different, right? I didn't do AA, I just raw dogged the hell out of it. Like cold turkey that day, raw dogged it. And I also think that's a superpower. Like I didn't go to any groups, you know, I just decided. Now, if somebody wants to do AA, that's their journey, right? I do not care, whatever works for you, but I feel like there's too much at stake at this point to consider that, and I just simply won't. Like my life is too good now to go back to where it was. That name was available because there's the Sober Bodybuilder, and he's got like hundreds of thousands of followers. And I'm like, how do I get like that? Like, but I don't do any of this for followers. Like that is not my game. Like that, I don't care about that. But yeah, I was shocked that that name was available. And for a brief period of time, my business coach wanted me to change it. And I'm like, I'm not changing it. Like, I have to keep that name. Your excuses are bullshit. 5 seconds. If I had to expand a little bit, as humans, it's very hard to look ourselves in the face and be like, I'm the problem. Whatever the stuckness looks like for you. It could be weight, it could be addiction, it could be a job you hate, it could be a relationship or marriage you feel stuck in. Maybe it's a conversation you're just not sure how to have. There is so much power and relief that comes from just making this decision like, I'm gonna change this. I have to stop making excuses as to, well, you know, I'll do it 6 months from now, or now's not a good time, or I'm not ready, like whatever it is, right? I've said all of those things. It's bullshit, because you can. You just have to decide. I think, you know, being broadly liked, like I don't really care about that anymore the way that I used to. And I will say this is a work in progress, like full transparency. I'm getting back into individual therapy because I have realized running a small business, and I am in the business of sales. I am trying to get people to come into my coaching container so I can help them. And yes, that is an income generating activity, but it's also self-serving for me too, because I feel like I'm giving back and I genuinely enjoy it. And when I'm told like, no, like, you know, it's not a good fit. Nobody's ever told me they don't want to work with me because of me. So that's good. But I realized after a number of no's in like December and January, this like awful rejection wound like opened up, and I was like beside myself. I would cry, like, and I'm like, no, like we've got to take a step back. you're clearly not doing a good enough job of like painting the picture for this person that you are the solution. So let's stop feeling sad for ourselves. Let's work on this rejection wound, because I see what it is, and continue to lean into the authenticity that is Katy, that is Athena Nutrition, that is the Sober Weightlifter, whatever it is, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm going to continue to make my content. I'm going to continue to be real. And if people don't like that, or that rubs them the wrong way, I do not care, because you know I'm right. And I've had hundreds of conversations with women. I'm talking to women on a daily basis. It's how I get clients, right? Is by talking to people. And I've heard so many times, I know you don't like excuses, or, you know, I actually really liked your video. Like, I felt like you were talking to me. And that's when I know, like, okay, even if it's a little edgy at times, it resonates with somebody. I'm not making content for the masses. It's that one person that finally it's going to click, like, she's right. And I don't care if that means that there's people out there that are like, she's kind of a twat. Like, or, you know, she's a little too much for me. I track my unfollows. Like, I track all my metrics, and I see the unfollows, you know, at least 50 every 2 weeks. I'm like, well, lost a few on that video. It's okay. I don't care. I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to leave it, make an impact, you know, create a legacy, create an empire, which is something I never really thought about. So I'll burn, I don't care. I'll burn that down. Your perception of me does not matter, because I am so confident in myself at this point that nothing that you say about me is really going to sway me. Like, I get hate comments on TikTok. I'll stitch it right away and be like, I'll just lean in even harder. I don't care. I think it's funny. Like, you're on the internet. You don't matter to me. You know, Josh in fucking Virginia. Like, and that's something I've learned probably more recently in the last 4 or 5 months. Like, I was just trying to like take anybody who wanted to like have a call with me and I realized, like, you know what? Not everybody's going to be a good fit. Case in point, like, I actually canceled a call on somebody 2 weeks ago because they didn't fill out my coaching application. 6 months ago, I never would have done that. I would have taken it anyways. Truth be told, my business coach was like, you probably should have just taken the call. But I was like, no, if you can't take the time to just do this basic part of the process, then I have to question if you're going to be good in an online space where I need you to be checking an app and messages and weekly check-ins with me and like my group community. If you struggle with online communication, then this probably isn't a good fit, and I'm okay with that now. I have enough clients that like I can be a little more selective. That's a really cool place to be. That's a good one. I'd say that like she really like overcame a really hard thing and turned it into something incredible. And I feel like that's not an eloquent way to put it, but like I want to, I never really thought about like impact or legacy until more recently, and it came up actually in marriage counseling, which by the way doesn't mean that there's a problem, people. It's a healthy thing to do. You know, our therapist said, you know, when's enough going to be enough for you? You keep moving the goalpost for yourself. Because initially, when I started Athena Nutrition, I had no idea what I was doing. And I just like posted on social media like, oh, I'm starting this. And I just thought everybody's going to want to work with me. No. So now I've hired 2 business coaches, and the one I'm with is amazing. Shout out Taylor. And now I'm really looking at this like, okay, we have a real opportunity here to impact a lot of lives. And what started as like, I'd be stoked if I had 10 clients. Okay, now if I could get 30, that would be incredible. And then 40, I didn't expect this. And I just hit 50 the other day, and I'm like, okay, 60? Like, what's my cap? When do I need to hire an assistant coach? Okay, well, if I hire an assistant coach, all right, now we're really like building like a true empire, as I call it. And that's got me thinking now, like, okay, what is the end for me? I don't know. I have no intent on stopping. I'm like, the sky's the limit. If that means I end up in 5 years with a team of people that work for me and hundreds of clients, then I feel like that's a good trajectory. That's where I want to go. And even being as bold as like, could I be a millionaire in the next 10 years? I don't know. That's very possible for me. But I want to be remembered as somebody who like was unapologetically themselves and turned their life around for good. Like, again, I've worked in nonprofits. I say the corporate world, my old job, but like that's a blanket statement. I worked in nonprofits in healthcare because I was always driven by a desire to help people. That's why I got into healthcare in the first place. And mission over margin has always been at the forefront of my mind. If I wanted to make as much money as possible, I would be charging a lot more than I do for my services. I would probably be trying to be affiliated with some company and giving out discount codes. I don't do any of that because integrity is really important to me. And if I had to boil it down to one word, like, I hope I'm remembered for my integrity, because that matters. People matter at the end of the day, and in the wellness and health space, there's a lot of bad actors. There's a lot of people who just want to make money. They don't care about the end user. And for me, I care about clients, aka patients, like whatever you want to call it. I care about them and how they feel and what their experience is, and if they're leading their healthiest, best life. And you can't do that when you're bought and paid by somebody else. So integrity is really important to me. It's so funny because there was someone in my past life who, I doubt he would watch this, but some of the things he used to say were really impactful. His name's Kevin. He was sober. We had a falling out, and I'll always have love for him, but he always would say, like, alcohol's bad, and I would be like, oh, you're so lame. But if I could impart any final words, if you're somebody who's like really struggling with alcohol or substances, just know it doesn't have to be that way. It can get better. You can turn your life around. I'm willing to talk to anybody who's willing to get sober. I've had lunch with people, coffee. I don't want them to be a client. I just want to be like a shoulder for them to like lean on as they consider their own journey, because it's really hard to go through alone. I did it fully alone. I do not recommend that. It was the hardest 6 months of my life. Find community and realize it can get better, and you do not have to stay stuck in that. Life really is like truly beautiful now that I have such a clear head and a clear vision for where I'm going. Never could have done any of this 2.5, 3 years ago when I was stuck in just a cycle of when's my next drink? When's my next bag? So if you're struggling with that, we should talk. I'm just somebody with lived experience. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a sober coach, but I've been there and I know what it's like. And I know what it's like now. And it's 10 times better than it could ever be. Beyond my wildest dreams. Like, I feel very, very grateful.